Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Zach, aka Kate's39 here, bringing you another Thursday showdown. Um, Finally get back to the fun showdowns. It's going to be a really exciting game to watch tonight between two really promising teams. Obviously, since he didn't get off to the start that they exactly wanted, and Miami's gone off to a better start than anyone could ever imagine, beating Buffalo last week. So, um, yeah, so this matchup's kind of hard to judge because one, Cincinnati has played just like the easiest schedule ever. Miami has played a really tough schedule. Um, so I'm gonna try to factor that in. Like Cincinnati's defense on paper or statistically looks really strong this year. But you go and look at their matchups. They've played the Jets with Flacco, the Cowboys with Cooper Rush, and the Steelers with Mitch Trubisky. All three offenses that are pretty bad this year, honestly. So should be an actual test tonight with the Dolphins. Although I don't think Tua is anything like crazy, but he's still a massive upgrade over the three guys that I just mentioned. So I'll start with the Miami side of the ball. Tyreek, the most expensive player for them, rightfully so. It's so you're gonna the build to this slate seems pretty easy. Just picking your guys. We want four of the Hill, Waddle, to Chase, Burrow, Mix, and Higgins. Like you want four of those guys, and then you get to there's the two kickers that are very cheap, and then Raheem Mostert if you want kind of the more upside guy. But I'll go back into breaking these guys down. Tyreek Hill, we know he came up publicly this week talking about how much he hates Eli Apple. I think that honestly probably bumps his ownership up even some. He's just an awesome play. The target share is extremely high. For this offense runs through these two guys, so I am perfectly fine playing both of them in the same lineup, captaining them. They're both very good football players. Big play upside, high floor upside. Even though we really saw his floor last week, but if you saw the snap counts, the Bills had like 90, the Dolphins had like 50. So I'm not going to judge too hard on that. Tua got hurt. They play with the lead. So yeah, I'm not going to judge too hardly on that. I have him as my top overall Dolphin play, but I love both these guys. Jalen Waddle has been incredible to start the year. I kind of lean towards this game being more of not like the Ravens one, but closer to that, where I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this one. So yeah, I don't really have a preference on the two. Both awesome plays. Yeah, and then Tua, he's 9,400 is crazy. Like I expected both these quarterbacks to be like 11K. They are both very cheap. Yeah, like sorry, excuse me, my dog barking. Someone must have just shut up to my house. But yeah, so 9.4, like I think the strategy is probably one receiver and Tua, just because of pricing. But I don't even hate the idea of trying to jam all three in with like Joe Mixon and play like a style like that. So moving on to the running backs, Chase Edmonds and Mostert have basically been 50-50 this year. We've seen one game of each playing higher and then one that's basically right down the middle. So my preferred play is Mostert just because of the discount. It's if I'm picking straight up, I'm picking Edmonds. His role is just a little better as being more involved. But I'm not playing Chase Edmonds to come off like T. Higgins or Mixon. So he's a good GPP play because of that. I think that's going to be the consensus for most people. So fine for GPP, especially because like he seems to have the goal line. Like he got both goal line carries last week. So I don't know how much to factor that in. Could have been just random coincidence, but yeah. Gesicki, GPP only play. Everyone saw before the season, they said he's going to be a blocker. Looks like that's true. He still is an elite receiver. Like we saw his insane touchdown against the Ravens. He still has that ability, so he's in play for GPPs. But his involvement just is not going to be as high as you want it. Yeah, you look at the snap counts, 40%. The game they were trailing, he got 62, so it's a little better, and 40%. So nothing to get too excited about. Definitely way overpriced. Dolphins defense, I guess, are in play. I don't play defenses, but the Cincinnati bad offensive line, they get after the quarterback. We just saw Melvin Ingram get defense player of the month for them. So yeah, that's about all I'll say to them. Jason Sanders, awesome play. Anytime kickers are under 4K, you love them. Especially on this slate, I'll mention a lot of times you'll see me, like you saw me and Gator actually got in a debate last slate because he went 2 kickers, and I had those opportunity last slate to play the tight end for Dallas, and his name's slipping my mind right now. But he's $200 starting tight end. And if I have the opportunity, I do it. I don't like playing kickers and defenses. That's boring. I don't like the upside. And then so I still did really well last slate because the 2 for 2 worked fine because I liked Zeke a lot. They didn't. But then Gator actually had the nuts lineup with a captain kicker as well as a kicker. So 2 kickers always in play. And I'll say even more on this slate. Like this slate, I'll be back on that train because when you look at the cheap guys, there's not much. Like you have Sherfield, who I'll get to in a second, but no one that is going to play a ton of snaps and get excited about. So, and the kicker's a little cheaper than normal too. They're like $400 cheaper, and they're very easy to fit in this one. So, then we see Catcraft, who scored a touchdown back-to-back games. He's playing like 30% of snaps or something, if that. 20%. He's at 20%. So yeah, I'm not playing him. He's not a very good receiver. So I do have some interest in Sherfield, especially if Wilson were to miss. I expect him to play. But if you look at the snap counts from last week, he played, but he was definitely still hurt. He only played the 5 snaps, and Sherfield played 27. And the first game when he was fully healthy is 35 and 47. So I do think that Sherfield is in play. Pretty decent athlete, above average. Nothing to write home about. Hasn't been very productive in his NFL career, but he does have that stretch the field type of dynamic. So I do think he's in play. I prefer the good kickers though. Yeah, that's it for that side of the ball. Moving on to Cincy. Jamar Chase is probably the best GPP player on the slate to me. I do think that he is the best play, especially on the Bengals. But 11K is a lot to pay for. So like you get this $2,800 discount to T Higgins. It's kind of hard for me to pass that up. So like that, especially for cash, I think that's the way to go. Joe Burrow, just like the same way as Tua, and he's even a little better than Tua. His price is just insane. Yeah, for cash, I think you definitely lock him in. Even GPP, very high ceiling here. Love Joe Burrow. The Dolphins are going to send a lot of pressure, and this is why I like Jamar Chase. Is they do get after the quarterback a little bit. We know how bad Cincy's offensive line is. So that typically is going to benefit a guy like Chase, who is incredibly fast and shifty. He's going to beat man coverage a lot, even against a guy like Xavier Howard, who played really well against Stephon Diggs last week, but he is still banged up. So yeah, elite play. Love Burrow. Mixon's probably my favorite play on them. Actually, I'll say Burrow, then Mixon. I'm trying to get these 3 when I'm playing the Bengals. I don't expect. We saw Devin Singletary go absolutely incredible last week. I just think the Dolphins don't scare me, and Joe Mixon has an elite playing like 75% of snaps. Has been very, very active in the receiving game. 3 targets, 7 targets. He just hasn't gotten the end zone yet. I think that does change here tonight against the Dolphins. T. Higgins, so the Dolphins have Byron Jones. He's not active here today. He comes back, I think, next week, maybe 2 weeks actually. But yeah, I think that Xavier probably follows Chase. Not too worried about that for Chase, but I do think he does, and I think that leaves Higgins with a massive mismatch with everyone else. Yeah, I think this 8.2 price tag is crazy. Yeah, just a really awesome roll. He should have had 6 for like 100 and a touchdown last week. The touchdown call was absurd. I'm sure you all seen the video. Incredible catch. P. Ryan, I kind of wanted to have interest because I wanted him at this price, but yeah, unplayable at 7.4. Tyler Boyd has a bit of a price, is one of the few mispriced guys on the slate. He's been incredibly efficient this year. 5 targets, 7 targets, 2 targets. Has scored a touchdown in 2 of the games, 100 yards in one of them. I'm getting up to T. Higgins every day of the week over him. But he's another one of those guys that gives you a really strong GPP play. He's going to be one of the really low end guys. The Dolphins like to send pressure, so those quick hitters, so the slot receiver are going to be there. But other than that, don't have too much interest. Hayden Hurst, I think, is a GPP only play. 5.4 is a little more than I'd like to just take the 1,600 discount to. No, my dog's going so crazy for. I apologize. But yeah, 5.4 just way overpriced. But like he does have a good role. We saw last week his snap counts come down. He got hurt, but before that, like 80% of the snaps, 7 targets and 8 targets. He's just going to be like that check down receiver. We saw it from Zona last year. Yeah, so like he's in play, and he is definitely very live to score a touchdown. So for that reason, he definitely is in play. Wilcox, I'll say, is in play just because if Hurst re-aggravates his injury and he's so cheap, but yeah, do not count on that. But yeah, that's it. It's kind of a boring slate because we don't have the cheap value guys that I like going after and researching and doing that stuff with. But it's going to be a really fun game to watch with high scoring, and it's not like it's very hard to make lineups here tonight. There's just the top 8 guys are just so such good players and so active that I'm really looking forward to watching this game. And I'll probably be a 3 lineup guy tonight because it's going to be really tough for me to really love one lineup here with so many guys mispriced at the top. So yeah, that's going to do it for me. As always, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Later.